Welcome to the Foundry by Forge College. Look, if you've ever laid awake in a cold sweat, totally panicking about your entire protocol grinding to a halt just because you needed to push a tiny, minor update, well, you are definitely in the right place today. In this explainer, we're going to draft the ultimate schematics for smart contract systems. We're talking architectures that are so modular and so brilliantly flexible that they literally never break or fail when you upgrade them. Just picture this for a second. How exactly do you upgrade a machine's engine while it's hurtling down the highway at 100 miles per hour? In the physical world, you don't. That's a spectacular disaster waiting to happen. But in Web3, you can't just pull the car over. You can't hit pause on the blockchain while you casually tinker under the hood. The system has to stay live. And to pull that off, we need the pure engineering magic of dynamic composability. So here is the blueprint for today's explainer. We've got 6 key schematics to draft together. 1. Going from audits to architecture. 2. Avoiding the static code trap. 3. Building our dynamic composition toolkit. 4. Establishing a single source of truth. 5. Designing an accounts and rewards blueprint. And 6. Preparing for proxy patterns. Let's dive right in. Starting with Section 1, from audits to architecture. It's all about shifting our mindset. Okay, so in our previous lesson, mapping vulnerability findings into security audit workflows, we were heavily focused on destruction, right? Hunting for flaws, breaking things apart, seeing exactly where the system cracks. But today we're doing a total mental pivot. We are putting our hard hats back on. We're making the shift from just finding code flaws to actually constructing flexible, bulletproof, modular architectures. Because once you know how things break, it's time to build multi-contract systems that don't just survive changes, they are built to welcome them. That brings us to Section 2, the static code trap. To build correctly, we absolutely have to dodge what I call the static code trap. Think of static imports like taking a heavy-duty soldering iron and permanently fusing your brand new TV directly into your gaming console. I mean, sure, it works beautifully right up until the console breaks. And then, well, because they're permanently hardwired, you basically have to throw the entire TV in the trash. That's a rigid compile time dependency for you. Dynamic composability, on the other hand, is all about runtime flexibility. Instead of hardwiring things, we engineer standardized ports. So if the console breaks, you just unplug it, plug in a new one, and you're right back to gaming. Which leads perfectly into Section 3, our dynamic composition toolkit. Now, as you level up your Web3 mastery, you'll realize you need standardized tools, not custom hardwiring. Our ultimate goal is dynamic composability, and we define that as assembling modules so their interactions can change at runtime without forcing every module to be recompiled. Just imagine giving developers the power to swap out cartridges of logic on the fly without taking the main system offline and without risking a massive, messy system recompile. That's the superpower we're after. So let's look at this like a classic engineering schematic. We've got 3 main tools in our belt here. First up, the connector interface. You can think of this as your universal USB-C port. It handles direct, synchronous, cross-module calls while keeping the authoritative state totally locked down. Second is the event-driven approach. This is basically your notification bell, asynchronous signaling that's absolutely perfect for off-chain listeners who just need to know that an action happened. And third, permission delegation. This is your VIP bouncer. It actively checks a registry to verify if someone actually has the temporary or scoped authority to do what they're trying to do. Moving on to Section 4, single source of truth. This is the golden rule, folks. Having a fancy dynamic toolkit is great, but honestly, it is entirely useless if you ignore this one fundamental rule. Always keep canonical state in a single authoritative contract and require connectors to forward requests. To put it simply, never ever give 2 different managers their own copy of the payroll ledger, because eventually they're going to disagree. And when they do, someone's either getting paid twice or not at all. You need one true ledger, and absolutely everyone has to route the requests right through it. If you decide to ignore this and just copy state across different modules, you are actively inviting disaster. You're going to create severe reconciliation complexity. You're going to massively bloat your expensive on-chain storage costs, and you make future upgrades a total nightmare. I mean, imagine the absolute chaos of a lightweight third-party analytics plugin accidentally draining a user's entire wallet just because you carelessly duplicated the balance state into it. It sounds kind of funny until it's your protocol making the headlines, right? All right, Section 5, Accounts and Rewards Blueprint. Let's prototype this. Let's bring all this theory down to earth and actually draw up a real-world prototype. We want to connect an account core module with an analytics add-on, but we don't want to tangle their code bases into a giant knot. Look at the flow here. It's beautifully simple. Step 1, define the interface port. Step 2, establish the core state. Step 3, deploy the connector bridge. And finally, Step 4, attach the add-on logic. Notice how we keep that heavy, critical state locked safely away in Step 2, while the lightweight, easily swappable logic just plugs right in at Step 4. In this architecture, the iAccount connector interface is acting as a shield. It guarantees minimal coupling. It basically prevents the analytics module from needing to understand the complex internal plumbing of the account core. The consumer is totally shielded, and the account core demands that only explicitly trusted, approved bridges are allowed to reach in and touch that precious points mapping. When we finally assemble the whole thing, our permissioned connector steps up as that VIP bouncer. The analytics add-on runs its business logic, decides to reward a user, and pings the connector. The connector checks its registry and says, "Yep, you're on the list. I'll forward your request to the core." It seamlessly handles the job without ever directly exposing the main vault to the outside world. It's incredibly elegant. And finally, Section 6, preparing for proxy patterns. Let's zoom out and look at how this fits into your broader learning journey. You can really see the evolution here. In the past, we mapped out security audits to find the cracks. Presently, in this explainer, we've built dynamic connectors to decouple our logic and protect our state. And that trajectory points us directly to the future, our next massive conceptual leap, which is implementing proxy patterns for ultimate scalability. Because think about it, we've made the add-ons modular, which is great. But what happens when the dynamic connector itself needs to be upgraded and you can't afford to drop a single live transaction? That, my friends, is the ultimate proxy puzzle. To solve that, and to continue your journey through the scalability and composability strategies in our Final Quest multi-contract system track, part of the Solidity and Ethereum quests, you'll want to head over to forge.college. It's an absolutely incredible resource to truly master these Web3 architectures. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer brought to you by Forge College. And as always, keep building bulletproof systems.